At what point do you get involved in the actual drug operation?
No, I never did drug trafficking.
You never involved in any of that?
Never. Because you're not going to believe this.
Well,
because
know?
authorities don't believe this. But the last shipment that my father sent was in 96. He sent 100 kilos to Houston and some toxic chemicals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they say that he was sending 150. A guy who sent 3 tons, 1,500 tons of cocaine was sending 150 kilos. So that's something doesn't add up.
Mm-hmm.
You see, but and it's understandable. I'm not judging nobody. So the authorities want to hear what somebody wants to say, and if that's what they want to say, so they go for it. So, but I know during your session with Murph at the conference, you also mentioned that you were handling a lot of the corruption and a lot of the bribery. At what point did that start? My father is captured August 5 or 6 of 95. 95? Yeah. 6 of August of 95. So I'm a lawyer, so I can go to prison wherever I want, to see that. So he called me and say, hey, he was captured on Sunday, and he called me like Monday and told me, hey, son, I need to talk to you. So now, when you go in as a lawyer, though, I don't know the way it is in Colombia, so tell us, do they, because there is an absolute prohibition. If you're a lawyer meeting with a client, they can't record it, they can't videotape it. You have to have absolute privacy between you and your client. I sit with my uncle and my dad in a meeting, and then my father talked that day. That I was like, why my uncle is not talking? My dad told me, hey, son, I know I always have you a part of this, but I'm going to need you to help me in something. And I say, what do you need, my dad? Told me, I need you to help me in my defense. And they're going to be, because we knew what's coming, what I told you in the interview we did over there, that we knew you guys the American government wanted to put 3 or 4 great projects against drug trafficking. We already knew what our informants that we had in Congress and all that. And in the government, that's what's going to happen. So he told me, I'm going to need you for this. And I say, okay, Dad, if you need me. No, he said something that's only in cyclism. How do you say cycling? Mm-hmm. You have to put the yellow shirt on.
Oh, yeah, you have to put the yellow shirt on.
Got it.
Yeah. So what happened?
Then I start, everything is a beginning. And so I start, this trying to help the guy, and I became a very important part of the puzzle for them, because I was, meeting with important senators, and I became the lobbyist of the cartel Cali.
How did your conversations go with them? Because they obviously know who you are, they know who your father is, they know what he's involved in, they know about the Cali Cartel. When you approach them, are they thinking that you're coming? It's like the way Pablo used to say, plato y plomo, right? Silver, or lead. Were they concerned about that, or were they more looking for like, oh, we know that you're going to bribe us, so they set the conditions to
they wanted money because they knew we were not going to kill them, because that was not the way we operated. So they wanted money. They wanted silver.
And talk about that a little bit, your philosophy, because Pablo was killing everybody. I mean, he was blowing up everything. He was killing police officers. What was the philosophy of the Cali Cartel around that?
I believe we made a mistake. We believed that our problem was legally, and our problem was political. So we were bribing people, trying to get those projects, try to stop those projects, and believe we didn't understand what's happening. Somebody one day told me, and I said, this guy's crazy. Politicians that I knew there. In those days, they helped me a lot. I'm not gonna say the name because he's my. I believe he's my friend. I don't know if I'm his friend. He believes I'm his friend. The guy, I sit down because I used to live in Bogota in an apartment. I was in the 3rd floor, and he lived in the 5th floor. So we used to go and have some drinks, talking. So he told me, "You're confused. Your problem is not legally. You're not gonna win anything." And I said, this guy is crazy, what he's talking about. But he had the truth. We had to think politic way. because our problem was not legally. Because
It was political.
Yeah, it's political. Total political.
And that was Pablo's fight too. It was political. It was also around the extradition.
Yeah, but because Pablo pressured a lot in those, but really, and the authorities know that Kacerowski, the guy who brought us down, he knew that my father was the guy who was doing the legal things. And when that happened, extradition, my father, that senator called me, "Hey, Miguel, do you think this is the way it should be?" My father was investing a lot of money in that moment. It was 91 when we built a new constitution in Colombia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's when so as long as extradition was outlawed, everything was okay. But the minute you could extradite people to the United States, that was one of the fundamental changes.
Yeah, the first week I got to Colombia was when they enacted the new constitution, which outlawed extradition, and then 3 days later, Pablo surrendered that first week.
Yeah, and you know what this guy did? This guy's a maniac. That day they won. We won. Extradition was not prohibited for Colombia. He put a bomb in Congress.
Pablo did?
That? He did. He put a bomb.
I don't remember that.
Look at that. He put a bomb. So people will remind if
they wanted to change their mind, they would be reminded.
Yeah. He did it. He put a bomb nearby.
But you know what Murph says? Murph comes into country. He comes into Bogota 3 days later. Pablo surrenders. He takes personal credit that his appearance in the country made Pablo surrender.
Hey,
yeah,
see, if I came in,
I believe that.
If I came after you, you'd have been in jail longer. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
See, but let me take a quick divergence. This is kind of funny in an ironic way, because here we are sitting. I mean, let's be honest for a second, William. Your organization, while it didn't go after the government, because you said you didn't want to go after the state, but people were killed. People died, right? Even though you might have been involved in the corruption, you knew people who were in charge of killing other people. And people are going to go, how can we, guys who were on one side of the law, talk to somebody who was on the other side of the law? And I think it's one of the things that you have to get to as a point when you're an adult to say, look, and we're going to get into your sentence and doing your time. We talked to George Young. We got George Young's last interview before he passed away, before he died. Mm-hmm. And
who's sorry, I don't know who
George Young was. Do you remember the movie Blow with Johnny Depp?
Yeah, Blow.
That's George Young.
Okay.
He was Pablo's business partner. He was the one. He was responsible at one time for bringing, what was it, Steve? 80% of all cocaine.
Yeah, I forget. It was outrageous.
George was importing 80% of all the cocaine into the United States. He was. Even before you guys were doing a lot of stuff in New York, he had Miami and he had L.A.
Yeah, but remember we were first in Pablo.
Yeah.
We started the business first in
right.
Pablo. Pablo started in 76. We started in
73, right. But
we should have put them top priority instead of Pablo.
No, because we were better boys.
Yeah,
good boys.
Yeah, Pablo's holy cow. His bombing campaign was outrageous.
No, it's not about being good or bad. You're right what you're saying. Because sometimes.
We have to be able to have an adult discussion about history without getting into it's not an us versus them at this point. You've done your time. You're a free man. You owe no obligation to the United States anymore.
Right.
You're done, right? So, but I think it's important for people listening to this to understand the context, what was going on at the time, and what I'm very interested in is how you thought about things. Right? You went from being. I mean, think about this. You went to law school. You had a master's degree. You had an MBA. You were very educated. You had a very successful law practice. But then what happens is people say, how do you gain weight? It's not like you eat a hamburger and the next day you weigh 50 pounds more. It's increments. It's a little slice. It's a little bit here. It's hard to see the change day to day. But over time, to your point, in 6 months, you went from being a lawyer with successful practice to now being pretty much up to your eyes in the Cali Cartel.
A boss in the street.
What's that?
A boss in the street.
Yeah, a boss on the street.
Yeah, because what I told you before, after we were convinced that we're doing the right thing, right? From
the right thing in terms of what?
Family business.
Okay.
But the family business, to protect our family, where we're doing the right stuff, and I was wrong. Believing that, because that was an illusion that they sold me, and then I found out that was it wasn't that way, because in the end, when we finished this story, and I'm running. I found out that they sold me something that was not true.
And found that his father and uncle.
Right.
I mean, that's a betrayal.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about that because you talked about August 6, 95. That's when your father's captured, right?
Yeah.
So what happens after that? How do you step up into the organization?
I became the man. I start, bribing a lot of people. I have something that maybe nobody believes, and that's crazy. I lost my mind. I know how can a man do this. I went to Congress with a bag filled of, let's say, like $500,000, and I sit in an office at a Senate, and I'm, okay, Mr. Steve, come on. Okay, what we gonna do? Okay, okay. I'm gonna give you $20,000 inside of Congress. Doing this
In Bogota.
That's crazy. I lost all proportion of everything.
Reality.
That it's crazy because I didn't fear anything because I believe I was untouchable because that they sell that to us. That I can do anything, and I was I never be. Nobody was going to touch me.
But did not the takedown of Pablo Escobar teach you a lesson that nobody is untouchable?
But my father believed he killed Escobar so he can do anything he wanted.
And remember, he beat the rap, or your uncle beat the rap over in Spain. Right?
No, my uncle and my father beat him because, because in the end...
They bribed their way out of that.
Yeah, in the end, everybody saw this guy was the chief, Gilberto, but in the end, this guy was the man, my father. From 84.
And what William's doing, he's pointing at his book, which we talked about too, Son of the Cali Cartel. And it says, The Truth Untold by Netflix.
No, please don't tell that to Steve. Yeah, he'll get mad, and I don't want
He
to...
already knew that. Hey, I was going to ask you, though, on the book it says, William Rodriguez Abadia? Abadia. What is Abadia?
Abadia in Spain is a church.
Okay.
That's my last name, my mother's last name.
And see, that's the thing I want people to understand, that in your culture, Spanish culture, Mexican culture, it's the paternal name followed by the maternal name, right?
Yeah.
Why is there not a hyphen in there?
A what?
A hyphen. Like Rodriguez hyphen, the dash. Abadia.
No, because that's the way I'm known. William, that's my name. William Rodriguez Abadia. So,
Abadia.
Oh yeah, that's my father's name and my mother's name.
What's your middle name?
I don't have.
No middle name?
Thank God. William what?
William what?
Gonna be a middle name for William.
But that's interesting, though, is that you are Colombian, but your name is William.
My mother.
Not Guillermo.
Yeah.
No, my mother was she liked the English dynasty.
Yeah.
So she put me William. They wanted, my father wanted to put me Carlos Alberto because Carlos is my grandfather's name.
Okay.
But my mother said, no, you have never in the life. His name is gonna be William.
That's unusual. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my mother was
In charge.
Yeah.
not in charge. She was a big catcher. You say catcher? Captor? You say that. Sometimes I lose my Spanish English.
Spanglish.
And she had a lot of,
She had a lot of authority. She was like the matriarch of the family, or the...
No, she wasn't, but she was very strong. She was very strong. And when she said something, she didn't care.
Right.
With my father, my uncle, she didn't care.
So, interesting. Let's talk about that. At this point now, when this is all going on, what's your relationship with your mother?
She knows
what's going on, right? She knows.
Oh, she knows, but no, she doesn't know because we come over here and then we go back and then she finds out some stuff. But in the end, I wanted to, unfortunately, because it was a great mistake that I did with my mother. I judged her because she brought me here and she took my father away. So I wanted to teach her a lesson. So I went to live with somebody else. So it's sad, but in the end, she hurt me a lot because my father was very important to me.
So, but at this point, were you talking with your mother?
Yeah, I talked to her, but I decided to go and live with my aunt.
No, I meant at this point in 95.
Yeah, no, I was taking care of my mother in those days.
Okay.
I was giving her what she needed.
So let's talk about now. You're walking the halls of Congress. You're handing out cash. You believe you're not going to get touched, not arrested. What happens?
Pues you start to lose reality, right? I judged my father, but in the end I was transforming in him. So it's something like, it's crazy. And now I'm sitting in the same table these two guys, no? Because, is because in the end, yeah, we sit in the same table, but they were in charge. So, but now I'm there, my point of view, they accepted because they needed me. They need him in the street, I'm the guy who's out there talking with everybody, and I know what's going on. So the guys respect me.
How did that feed your ego? Because you went from being a lawyer over here handling all this stuff to now you are, in fact, the de facto head of the Cali Cartel.
I'm the man, and my ego was
Out the window.
Out the window, because I could say to Gilberto, no, that's not the way. I could say to Miguel Rodriguez, no, it's this way. So it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so in a year, now I have the power.
But you also have the power too. You said you never did it, so we take it your word. But it's like, but the power of life and death is one of the most intoxicating things. It's like with Pablo, he could just. I mean, Steve, you were telling this too. Somebody thought if he thought somebody's stealing from him, that's all he needed. Mm-hmm. His belief, he'd have him killed.
Yep. It didn't even take that much.
Yeah.
If he had a suspicion, especially if he thought you were a snitch.
Well, that's what I told you the story. I had Salcedo's life in my hand.
Yeah.
And I didn't permit him to be killed.
Why not?
I don't know.
You had the power.
Yeah, I could have done it. Maybe it'd be the worst decision in my life, maybe the best one. I don't know. Maybe I never got indicted if I killed him. But I don't know. I didn't feel like, because it was not my part in this organization. My part was corruption. My part was what I knew. There was the law, and that was my role, and I accepted, because my father didn't have me for being a hitman. He had me for this other, and I believe that's more power when you can sit with a senator and the guy does whatever you want him to do. I believe there's a lot of power in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in a way, that's more powerful than saying, okay, somebody's killed, but whoever's killed, it's like Pablo would have some low-level gardener, or somebody killed, right? But the ability to own, in a sense, a senator, a judge,
And once you've got him the first time, you've got him forever.
You got him.
Yeah, I got him forever,
So how did you, let's talk about, here's what's interesting I'd like to find out. How did you make the approach? I mean, in other words...
I had people for that first, the first approach. I had some people that I paid, so they made the first approach, and then they take the guy out, and then I finish the approach.
What was the approach, though?
No, the guy, because everything was about money, so I knew, because like I said before in the other interview and the conference we were... Everybody has, in the end, has or a price or they have a weakness. So you have to figure out what this guy has. Mm-hmm. So that's my father taught me that. So, if this guy doesn't have money, I'm going to look for something that he wants.
A weakness.
A weakness.
Or it could be a vice.
Yeah.
Yeah, vice, because maybe he likes boys, he likes girls, he likes cocaine.
Underage, whatever it is, yeah.
So you have to know what the guy wants, and then you get him.
How much money, as you look back on it now, in terms of all the bribes you think you paid, the corruption, how much money do you think you spent?
I don't know. A lot of money. It's crazy the way we spend money in those
More
days.
than 10 million?
30, 40 million, something like
30, 40 million?
Trying to bribe. Because you guys were very difficult to win, you guys.
Well, let's talk about
the American government is very difficult, man. So we have to, fight for our lives. But, in the end, we needed more money, and we didn't have it. Nobody believes that, but we didn't have it.
Because they were impacting your drug trade, right? The profits.
Yeah, that's because there were hunting down for a year and a half. They went for them. Boom, boom, boom. Hit them, and they could only put their head out there because they will take them.
Well, part of the sentence for your dad and your uncle was they had to forfeit $2.1 billion in assets, right?
Yeah, that's not true.
That's in your book.
Yeah, but that helped me for my sentence, but that's what the judge says. But our fortune was not that much. Our fortune was like 700,000, something like that.
Nah, that'd be
Two million, it's too much.
It's got to be more than that.
No.
You guys, look, you're dealing in. You were just saying it too. Thousands and thousands of kilos. You're talking.
Yeah, but we're losing too. Because it's you guys, the authorities, don't figure out that we lose money too, and you know how much the war against Escobar costed, how much Gilberto bringing to Colombia costed? Millions of dollars, and politicians, lawyers. So we're spending a lot of money, and in the end, money finishes if you don't continue, in the drug trafficking. And you don't believe that, and authorities don't believe that, but we were involved in 97 in drug trafficking, because my father was brought here for 150 kilos. My father was sending 20, 30, tons of cocaine.
Right. But I mean, assets don't just include cash. It includes properties, artwork, anything of value. So, I mean, you might have to sell some of that.
We're surviving on a company that we're taking out like $1 million a month.
Wow.
So, at the height, though, before everything started turning and going, as we say, south, things started happening. How much do you think your father was worth?
In 88, my father was what $100 million in a caleta. He had $75 million in the banks, and he had companies worth like $400 million. That was my father worth in 88.
That was the height of his wealth?
I believe. I don't know. That's what I heard, because he never talked to me about that.
But that wasn't enough.
No. Well, let's talk about you. What was the height of your wealth? How much?
Oh, no.
No, come on. Between everything, what was the most you were worth at one point?
Like $3 million in cash.
Everything.
No, in cash and
houses, cars,
properties. Let's say like 30 million, something like that.
All right. Why wasn't that enough?
For me, it was enough, but you didn't leave me alone. That's the problem.
You didn't stop corrupting and doing.
There was a fight, to survival, because there was a war against surviving our generation, our family. So for me, it would be enough, but there was a lot of stuff in stake. Not only money. Money goes and comes.
Right.
So, but being able to raise our kids and be able to be, tranquilos, safe.
Yeah.
It's not easy.
Todo suave.
But it was a war against you guys, and we're gonna lose it because our two generals didn't understand what happened. Because our two generals was Gilberto and Miguel. I was only the help. I was a soldier. You see, and I sat down, but in the end, the decision was taken by them. Good or bad, they were the guys who were taking the decisions.
So let's talk then about your rise and then where things start to fall. So how does that take us through that now? You kind of now, like you say, you're the de facto head. You're the head of the Cali Cartel.
No, I'm not the head. I'm the boss in the street, because in the end, the two heads were there too, and most my dad. In the end, I was sitting to them and saying, we have to do this, and maybe they say almost in 80% they say yes what I was saying, but in the decisions that matter, they took the decision, and they were taking the wrong decisions in that moment. In my point of view, right?
Right. Mm-hmm.
And because they were blind to see what's going on in the environment because they were in jail. It's not the same being in jail and being in the street.
Right. And it seems like their thought process has never changed, even after they got extradited to the United States. They really thought that they were going to get reduced sentences that they could carry out in Colombia.
Yeah, they believe they can get 15 years. My uncle was one of the most important drug traffickers in history. Pablo Escobar and this guy were the most famous drug trafficker known. And he believed he can get 15 years over here. He can, 30 years. He got 30 years because the Constitution of Colombia protect him to get 30 years.
Yeah.
He should get 3 life sentences and 20 years. That's what they were asking for us.
For our listeners, that's an agreement with the United States has with other governments, because in most countries, the maximum sentence you can get is 30 years. So,
and that includes murder.
Right. So to extradite somebody to the United States, we can impose our sentencing guidelines. There has to be an agreement that the max will be 30 years.
Wow.
It's not every country, but most countries are like that.
So let's talk about that. Your ascension. When do you reach the pinnacle, the apex, and then things start to?
No, I believe when
down?
I was shot, that day life changed for me because.
So let's talk about that day. What was that day?
It was the 24th of May of 1996.
And where were you at, and what were you doing?
No, it's crazy, because that day I was going to go. I was a very, a saint in our zone. It's called the sort of El Señor de los Milagros, the miracle sort. There's a saint.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
There's in a place nearby Cali, and I was going on there because I believe in that saint, and I was going that day to see the saint, and my aunt called me. We had a transaction with a player of the soccer team.
Mm-hmm.
We were gonna sell him to Portugal, to a team. So she called me like I was going there, and she called me like 8:30 of the morning. Hey son, I need you here because we're gonna do this deal. So I go, and so I changed plans. That's destiny.
Right.
And I go to the soccer team office, and I'm there, and then my cousin comes with 2 guys that used to work with us in the organization, and we were there, and I say, hey, let's go to lunch. So we decided to go to a restaurant that I like to go, on a Brazilian restaurant, and then we go, and then life changed for me forever, because I was shot and I survived.
But let's talk about the shooting. So give us some. You talked a little bit in detail about what happened there, but set us up. Where were you at? What were you doing? What did you see?
No, what I tell you, I finished this agreement with a Portugal team, and I sold this guy for $1,200,000, something like that, and I finished, and then I say to this guy, let's go to lunch. So my cousin say, I cannot go because I have a meeting. So my cousin doesn't go to, and I go with these guys to that restaurant. And we're there, we're eating, and like it was like 2:00 of the afternoon. I don't know, something got in me, and I had to call my wife. And I called her and say, hey, love, how is the kid? Because I only have one daughter. And we talk about 5 minutes, and when I,
hang up,
and the conversation with my wife, there were 4 guys came in and sit on a table, and they got up and say, hands up everybody, and then they saw us and they started walking against us. And then I believe I was gonna get kidnapped. I don't know why. I believe I was gonna get kidnapped. And so the guy started shooting, and what saved me? I rise, right? And I got the first 2 bullets in my arms.
What they call defensive wounds.
Yeah.
Your hands up.
And then I got in my stomach and in my legs, and then the other shots. So
You were shot 8 times.
8 times. So the impact threw me back. And
Who knew you were going to be there?
nobody, because I took a decision where I go. But they were following us from the place for the club, American club. They were following.
Who was behind this?
The North Valley Cartel.
Why?
Because they wanna hit. Because what happened when Santa Cruz decided to make a prison break, from prison. He went to hiding and he wanted to fight with this guy. He had a problem with that. So they killed him. But what I tell you, this guy Castaño, the right-wing head of this organization, he used to be an ally with the Pepes, right? So we believe in him. So Santa Cruz arranged a meeting, and this guy betrayed him in the North Valley, and he gave them to the North Valley Cartel, and they killed him. And that they gave him to the police, and they made like a scenario where he was gunned down for authorities because Danilo was behind this. Danilo Gonzalez was behind this. And so, they were that way bandit thing, no? If we touch somebody close to, maybe these guys are gonna go against us. But in the end, Jose didn't do the right thing because he didn't tell my uncle and dad he was gonna escape from prison, and that brought a lot of heat to them. So now that we're glad about that because we love that guy. He was very close to us, but in the end we feel like a little betrayed by him.
Yeah.
But he didn't. But he got killed, and then that brought a lot of heat from those people because how the bandits act, they're afraid of your. If I hit you, they're afraid that maybe I'm gonna go back against you. So they started looking for excuses. So they found an excuse, and they went for people that we had that ran the street, that had gun power in the street. And I was the political power. So they wanted to take him out. And unfortunately for us, I survived that attempt of my life because, I could convince my father and uncle that it was a war we were not going to win because I knew this guy Danilo was behind them. And that guy ran the police.
Talk to us about who got shot, who got killed that day.
3 bodyguards outside. My 3 bodyguards were killed outside, and my friend from when I was 15 years old was killed, and a guy who was an important guy for us in the street got killed that day, and somebody who worked me was like my second guy behind me. Got shot.
Command?
Yeah, not command. He was, my help, my second.
Okay.
So he got shot and killed too.
So, how long did it take you to recover?
3 months. 1 in the hospital and 2 in my house. Because the most important was a wound in my leg. I was shot in my leg, and so that was like the most important wound that I had. And then my father called me one day. Hey, son, I need you to come. They've been doing peace treaties inside the prison. These guys were sending people. So they got an arrangement, and we made peace with these guys. So my father comes and calls.
And when you say you made peace with these guys, who's
the
that?
North Valley Cartel leaders. Okay. So he calls me in, and then he says, "Hey, son, I need you to do something." Yeah, what do you need? That I was recovering from being almost killed. We made an arrangement with these people, the North Valley Cartels, and they think you're the best guy for what I told you about the properties, that project season.
The 8,000.
No.
800?
No. Remember that I told you there were 4 projects for United States extradition, money laundering, and the properties.
Yeah. Asset seizure.
Forfeiture.
Yeah. Seizure.
Yeah.
Forfeiture. Yeah.
They say you're the guy for that, and I say, "What are you talking about? You want me to?"
Wait a minute. These guys just tried to kill you. Now they want you to do something for them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
How crazy is that?
Then my father called me and say, "You have to do this." And you want me to?
Wait a minute, Dad. They just shot me 8 times.
Yeah, I told my father, "Are you crazy? This guy attended my life." No, but you cannot. Never. You cannot. And it was a very, important thing he told me. He told me you can never show those guys that you are. How you say the word? That you are
Scared or afraid?
No, that you have something against them.
That you want to retaliate against them.
You never can show that because they'll kill you.
Yeah.
Okay. And that was a very good thing that he told me that day, and say, I'm not gonna do it. He said, no, you. And then my uncle jumped out and say, no, you have to do it for the family. He said, you want me to get in this guy to only attend to my life? Yeah, you have to do this because the family is our wealth and that. And they convinced me that day. And then I go to war with those guys, you know. But
You go to war with them?
No, but war means against this project. No,
Oh,
I'm talking
Against the government.
Yeah, I have to pay and go with these guys, and you know, receive money from these guys, and it was crazy, you know. And I want.
So they're donating. So they're giving money to you to use for corruption and bribery.
Corruption. So what happened there? We lost in Senate, and I won in the. How you say it?
The House.
The Congress, the House?
Yep.
I won the House. And when it happened, you have to be an agreement between the House and the Senate, and they make like a commission of 15 guys. And I had like 9. But this guy betrayed us, and they didn't send the money. We needed $10 million. And we lost it. And we lost that day, we lost the war because we lost our
Without the money, you had no power.
no power.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So what happened after that? So
I got tired of that, and I told my father, I'm not going to do this anymore. And then I retired to running the team, the soccer team.
Mm-hmm.
But anytime they needed something important, they called me. You know, hey, we need this, and okay. So they convinced me again, and you know. But I knew because then they came the extradition project, and then they believe they want something. But I know what America wanted. No, okay, we're not gonna bring you from the past, but we're gonna bring you if you do something. I know. Sooner or later, I was gonna get indicted.
Correct.
I knew that because I know what's going on. They didn't know what's going on.
So from that point, where are we at in terms of 96, 97?
It's 97,
All right.
97, 98.
All right. Now you say you think you're going to. So what happens eventually? Because you do.
No,
get
God gave me like 5 years more, and then they indicted me in New York for a case when they put me to do a conspiration with the brother of the chief of the North Valley Cartel, Orlando now.
a conspiracy.
Yeah. So I got indicted for that, and that's crazy because.
So but did you do it?
No. I can show you the release of the case from New York.
They dropped
I got
the case.
They did.
Yep.
Okay.
They dropped the case against me because they didn't have any proof against me. It was not my voice. There was a guy from Medellin talking, and I'm from Cali. I talk very different from the guy. So, but they didn't care.
So during that
All right.
5 years, what was going on?
I was running the soccer team. I was doing again my legal work. You know, I opened my office again. I was making a lot of money doing cases, and I was doing what I like. I love soccer, so you know I was running the team.
But what were you doing for your father?
Not too much, but what I told you, when they needed something important, they
Like
called
a politician?
They called kamikaze. Hey, we need you for this.
That's you, huh? The kamikaze?
Yeah, it was me.
What would define what important means when they said they needed something important? What would
Let's
that be?
say they needed something done important of corruption. So let's say they needed something for the company to fight against, you know, some laws that are there. So I came in and I did the operation to try to corrupt the judges and all that because I had the people. My cousin didn't know that. So a guy wanted to go to the play, but he didn't have the how would you say that?
The experience.
The experience. He didn't
Right.
know how to act, and
Yeah.
it was stupid because he believed everything was very expensive. And when you're talking about important stuff, you don't think about money. You think about doing what it needs to be done to
Right.
public.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of have gone up. Now you've come down. I mean, in terms of you've tried to get out of the business, right? But what finally happens though? Because you are finally indicted.
Because I knew attorneys needed somebody outside, they could hook them on, who had that power, and I had a lot of, I had a lot of spotlight, you say, and with these organizations like No Cali Cartel, politicians talk too much, so they thought, what you're doing. So, and you guys you're hearing the same so and who is the guy who can run stuff,
right?
And so I had a lot of spotlight, like I said before. So I was the indicated man that authorities needed to attain what they always wanted. Gilberto and Miguel over here. I was not doing drug trafficking. I can pass any right. How you call that?
Polygraph.
And I can tell you I was not doing that because it was not. I had the money to live the way I wanted because I was making a lot of money.
Right.
In my companies and legally, being a lawyer.
But what were you finally indicted for?
For that corporation I told you in New York that I can show you the
but that was dropped. But at some point,
but what happens? That it becomes a war between New York and Miami. Yeah. Who's gonna get the medal for that Rodriguez?
Right.
So Kaskerowski has spent 15 years, against us, and he gets some witness, and he indict us. And that part of that is true because it's money laundering.
Right.
So that guy has the proofs to indict us, and they indict us for.
What were you officially indicted for? What were your charges?
I never knew.
Oh no! Don't
no! It's really, I don't know because
the charges are not a secret in the United States.
Look, I was charged for a conspiration of importing drugs and laundering. But when I surrendered to Kaskerowski, he took me to a hotel 2 days, and he put all that. Let's not say lies. Yeah, some. How can I be diplomatic to say some?
Well, he puts what he believes to be his evidence.
Yes,
Yeah.
Get this. This is the one. I'm going to tell you what I did. I did this, and then he comes talking about this guy Salcedo. Es que Salcedo. Okay, let's do something. Let's go to trial, and that's your witness. Put him down there, because Salcedo was saying that he was inventing stuff. No, that one day he was in the forest walking, and he saw a guy, a hitman that my father had, burying something. I thought that guy was helping this guy bury that guy. So put him there.
Yeah.
Put him in there is a witness against me. I'll destroy him. So Kasi, no, don't get upset. I said, okay, so this is what I did. This is what was my responsibility. And he believed me because I don't have nothing to hide. I surrender. And something that...
Yeah, but before we get to the surrender part, you were on the run for quite a while.
4 years, yeah.
When did that start?
July 2002.
2002?
Mm-hmm.
So what put you on the run?
What put me on the run that I knew what they wanted, and nobody wants to be captured, right? If you know in advance that you're gonna get hit, you're gonna run like hell. So I have corrupt high officers in the secret police, the DAS, and that guy told me I was in Cartagena doing something, a legal process that I had in Cartagena, and he called me and said, "Hey, they're going to Cali to capture you because they knew where my house was." So they went to Cali, they didn't find me, I was in Cartagena, and then I started running.
How difficult was that? Were you married at the time?
Yeah, very difficult.
A child?
It's 2 kids. It was, for me, it was the...
Did you bring them with you?
No. I cannot change their lives.
Yeah.
So, I ran by myself. I saw my kids and my wife every 6 or 8 months. But it was very difficult, because it was something that I didn't know. And then what happened? I was very important for them, for my father and uncle. And then everything started like changing, because now I'm not important anymore. And it's true, because life continues, right? Everybody has life, and I'm there in hiding. And it was very complicated, because I was a guy who was able to do stuff. You had
power.
I had power, now I have to depend on everybody, you know.
Now you're at the mercy of the folks that you used to have power over.
Yeah. So now I'm on the mercy of them, and I sent a message, 15 days to go, 15 days to come back. Everything was, complicated, but in the end, I knew what's going to happen. They were going to get indicted too. So I said, I'm gonna be able to avoid being captured, because I'm gonna wait, because in my heart I believe they were gonna do something to help me, right?
When you say they, who's
my father and uncle?
Okay.
But they were more interested in trying to stay in Colombia, because with all that corruption they had done for this politician, they believed they could, escape away. But I waited patiently, not because I wanted that to happen, because I know it was going to happen. It was clear for me. So in 2003, they got indicted. They got indicted. I got indicted in another conspiration, and so now it was, I was waiting what was going to happen, and they were still fighting to stay in Colombia. So it's crazy. So my uncle is they sent my uncle in December in 2004 or something like that, and he sent a letter to me. Don't worry, son. I'm gonna do something for you. Okay. Nothing happens. Then my father, 4 months later, he's brought here in March of 2005. That same letter. Don't worry, son. I'm gonna do something. So I waited 7 months. They're over here. So they believe that they were doing something, pressuring the government. Saying, we're gonna go to trial. They were doing this. Kacerowski was an all around United States looking for witness. Mm-hmm. There were 40 witnesses against us. So who will believe Gilberto Rodriguez and Miguel Rodriguez, the second more important cartel in history, didn't do what the government was saying?
Right.
Yeah. So it's crazy, no? Mine, no? So I waited patiently, and the answer never came. So I said, it's my turn to do something for my kids, and I made an arrangement with the government. I surrendered.
Yep.
Why?
Why? Because I had a kid that had 11 and I had a kid at 8 years old, and I cannot continue,
Did you think, though, that if you would have just surrendered 4 years earlier, you would have been done 4 years earlier?
I had never done a day. If
you'd surrendered?
If I surrendered and betrayed my uncle like he says, I hadn't done a day, because I knew what they wanted. They wanted me to rat on him. Mm-hmm. And I was not going to do that. Right?
But you didn't get the same loyalty from them, though.
Yeah, but I did. But I can sleep. Like my wife says, you can sleep like a baby because you did the right thing.
Mm-hmm. How do you define the right thing? What was the right thing for you?
For me, what I'm convinced that the right thing is waiting for my father, because in the end it was my father was more important for me. Waiting, going to the tomb, outside the tomb with my father, because I knew my father lost everything when he was sent over here. All his fight.
Tomb,
la tumba. We have a saying that I go to the cemetery with the guy, but I'm gonna bury with him, right? I went to the cemetery with my dad, but I knew he lost it, and now it was my opportunity to save my family, my daughter, my wife, and me. That's what's the right thing to do. No, I didn't betray my father, because 6 months before that, this guy from New York was sending me messages. Hey, surrender. I said, no, catch me if you can. Right? Because I knew what they wanted. They wanted my dad and my uncle, and I wasn't going to give it to them. For me, for what I did, they were not brought here to the United States. They were brought because that was their destiny, right? And somebody else made the indictments against them. I didn't do it.
So for those 4 years, where were you hiding out at?
I was, I have an advantage. I don't look like a bandit. So I was running in a zone that's called Manizales. Mm-hmm. Manizales, where the brother Escobar is born.
Yep.
Manizales is built in like on a mountain. It's very cold, but if you go down like an hour, you got a very pleasant weather.
So what kind of work did you do?
Nothing. I you know what was my front? That I was a lawyer in Bogota, and that I suffer from the gout. That I do. So in those places, there are those waters that are hot. How you call that?
The hot springs.
Yeah, hot springs. So I was on vacation going to the hot springs. So I had a lady who went.
You were
with
on
me
vacation for 4 years.
for 4 years, running from one place to another one.
Jeez.
Oh man.
I mean, it sounds exciting, but I can't imagine it would
Now,
be.
so what was that 4 years like on the run the whole time? I mean, when did you ever get a good night's sleep?
Yeah, I took a pill to sleep. I didn't care if I have something that's crazy that I had a shirt a blue shirt with for if they capture me, I put it on so I can go good in the pitch.
Yeah, a nice dress shirt. Yeah, always want to look good.
It's all about the appearance. That's funny.
And it was 4 crazy years that maybe I lost, and maybe my father gained. Being able to live in Colombia with his family. I gave that to my father.
But you're only talking to your kids every 6 to 8 months. How tough was that on you?
Very tough because they didn't understand. But I know I have a good relation with my kids because I always tell them the truth. My wife was mad with me because before I surrender, I sit with my oldest at 11, the other one at 8. They don't understand what I'm talking, but I believe that. But they knew what's going on.
Right.
I say, hey, I did this, and I don't know why it came out of me. I'll come back in 5 years. And I came back in 5 years.
Well, let's talk about that then. So you were, what finally led you to say, I'm going to surrender? Was it just you were tired of being on the run? The letter? Let's talk about the letter.
Yeah, there was a letter that my wife received for an accident. And that letter, she never shared with me this information, but she went to me and said, because she was the one who always was trying to stop me. No, don't do it because you're going to regret it all your life. It's your dad, it's your uncle. And then the day she said, I need to talk to you. I need to talk to you. So she sent me the information. And then I sent for her. And then she said, it's time. They're not thinking about you.
What did the letter say? I'm sorry. Yeah.
I was just going to say this is where the betrayal part comes in.
Right.
But I don't know because my uncle said I betrayed him, but I never sent a letter saying that I'm going to betray him. So in that letter they said that they were going to they don't tell me anything, that they were going to try to get 15 years because they had a good case and and so she never told me frankly what that letter says. And I always ask her, why did that letter say? I'm not going to tell you.
She's not going to tell you because you wouldn't like what was in there, right?
Maybe. And she didn't want. She always had very good relation with my father. My father loved her because she know that kind of woman that I have, and she doesn't want to be. She's a person that don't like conflict. So she said, it's time. Do your thing.
Well, it's time to do your thing. So the only way you end up doing the only way with all the charges you're facing, you can do 5 years is if you cooperate.
Yeah, I help the government.
How?
Because when I surrendered, I'm a lawyer. I know what I was doing, and I knew what they needed on me. They needed me to accept the charges, right? Mm-hmm. That's what they need. The government needed that to finish up the Cali Cartel. So I say, okay, I'll surrender, but I need first. I need my family to be taken out of the. And I have this letter. I have that letter because I'm waiting because they say my uncle brought a book. Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for that because I have my proof that I'm not a traitor. So in their agreement they say, okay, I asked for all my family, 28 members that I love, taken out of the OFAC list, right? Mm-hmm. And
fact.
no persecuting against them anymore for the American government. And parole for my wife, my 2 kids, and another person that came with me that was a cousin of me.
You wanted them to bring them to the United States?
Yeah.
Okay.
So they we'll permit. No, you sign it. When you sign it, I surrender. So I have that document signed by the government. They gave me that, and then I decided to surrender, and then I surrendered.
Where?
In Panama in 2006. They only can give me 10 years in the agreement said. I only can get 10 years. That's something that they say we cannot guarantee. It's about the judge.
It's
right?
the judge, absolutely. You might reach a plea agreement, but the judge can always deviate. Yeah.
So that was my agreement. And then when I surrendered and I'm here it becomes like a conflict with my uncle, because Kaczorowski didn't understand why they continue, I'm here, why they continue to, say they were going to go to a trial. Kaczorowski didn't want a trial.
And you keep mentioning that name. Tell everybody who that is.
Kaczorowski is the agent that was persecuting us for more than 15 years. He was the guy who built all the case against.
Which agency was he with?
He was, in those days, he was with Custom. Now it's ICE, right?
Right. Yeah.
So he was again.
That's the one we were talking about. I think we talked about before, right? Yeah.
Yeah. He was a very good investigator.
Yeah.
Nobody liked him, but he was a very good investigator.
Mm-hmm.
That's why you don't like him.
No, I like him. He helped me.
Yeah.
Sometimes your enemy can convert in a very good ally.
Yeah.
And he was a very good ally for me. He helped me a lot. He helped my family. So I'm grateful for that. He kept his word, and I kept my word. What I promised it, I give, and what he promised, he gave it to me. So I don't have nothing to say about it. A lot of DA agents doesn't like him.
Mm-hmm. Well, but it's not a popularity contest sometimes. So you struck that deal. How did the judge come down on?
Okay, so I have 3 advantages. First, I surrender. That's important. Second, I made this arrangement. And third, this guy, I'm in prison, and that guy comes looking for me. Hey, I need you to help me in something. What can I help you with? I need you to talk to your family. I need you to. I promise you.
When he says your family, your immediate family, or
we're talking about my cousins, my brothers, and everything. I need you to talk to them, because I'm willing to ask them to offer them a deal. And say, okay, what is the deal? Tell them to come forward, help me convince these 2 guys to accept this agreement, and I will take you out of the list of the offer list. I will never persecute him again, because he had 2 or 3 people more to bring to pressure the old man. And I told him, no, you don't need to bring anybody. You got me. So, if I declare myself guilty, everything go to hell. So he said, okay, talk to your family. So I sent my lawyer to Colombia to talk to my family. And my uncle was saying, hey, watch out, he's going to betray you. Okay. But that relation with my cousin, Humberto, he believed in what I was saying. Because he knew he was going to be indicted and bring him in.
Right.
So I sent my lawyer, and they accepted to come here by a parole, 3 or 4 of my family members, and sit down with the authorities, and they make the deal. So that was something very important. But we talk. They talk about $2 billion.
2.1 billion.
Yeah, the government seized, and who helped the government? Me, right? So that was something that the judge very took in consideration, and so I had 3 aces: surrender, cooperation, and this deal. So the government wanted 8 years, the prosecutors, and the judge said, no, this guy, I'm going to give this guy 6 months, and I don't give him less, because another guy from the Cali Cartel, I gave 52 months, so I'm gonna give him 16 months.
60 months, 5 years. Yeah.
So
all right.
it was a miracle again.
Where did you do your time at?
I did 3 years and a half in South Carolina in Edgefield. There's a prison there, and the other year and something I did it here in Miami in the building.
Why did they transfer you?
Why did they transfer me?
Yeah, from South Carolina to Miami.
No,
Is that the way around?
the way around. I did first in the hall. I did some time in the building in downtown Miami.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I did the rest of the time in South Carolina.
Okay. All right.
You know, when you're not cooperating, you go to prison. If you cooperate, you stay in downtown.
Yeah.
You know it that way.
Some people are smart enough to figure it out, and some
Yeah.
aren't.
Yeah, that's smart.
All right.
Yeah.
So you did your 5 years. What did you do when you got out?
Was, it was very complicated. Can we have I have to go to the bathroom again, sorry.
Sure.
We can take this out.
It's okay. Well, now that we're all back from our bathroom breaks, which is what happens to men over 50 and 60. So
It's an old man thing.
no, but we were finishing up, and actually the part of the conversation we were having offline here, I want to kind of bring online. But you did your 5 years, but you were on the run for 4 years. You were in prison for 5 years. How did you? Tell me about the way your wife reacted to this while you were on the run. I mean, at some point, it's kind of like between the 4 years and the 5 years. Does she lose faith in you?
Yeah, I believe it was a moment because, this guy hired a lawyer. My father and uncle hired a lawyer from New York called Sapp, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So the guy comes with this theory, esta teoría, I don't know, theory, this belief.
This theory?
This theory that I should be on a run for 20 years and then I come back and I can make a better deal. So this guy is telling me
He thought you should be on the run for 20 years?
yeah, so my wife is looking for hope and this guy comes with that theory. So and though it was like a year before I surrender, I feel lonely by myself because even my wife, that was behind me for so long time. She, I felt like she I don't know how to express that. Like she was lost in hope. Right?
She was losing
hope because this guy said this guy's gonna be in 20 years on the run. What am I gonna do?
So during those 4 years, did you ever see your family?
Yeah, I saw them every 6 months.
Oh, I didn't know if you meant you just had contact.
No, I saw them because I arranged how to see them every 6 months because I could not change what my kids and my wife did, because they had to go to school.
Right. You didn't want to disrupt their routines.
It was my problem, and I have to face it. So, and that day, a year or let's say a year before I surrender, it was a very hard moment for my relation with my wife because I feel that day I felt so lonely. I only had me. But it was an illusion because even my wife, always my wife was behind me. But it was
How
very
are you
hard.
supporting your family? I mean, the cartels pretty much.
I had a lot of money.
What's that?
I had a lot of money.
Right.
Because I told you I had my office of lawyers. I'm making huge amounts of money.
And your office is still going at this time?
No, it's closed, but I already had some money, and in the business. Not the legal business, the corporations that I had was giving me a lot of money.
Okay.
So money was not a problem for them, right? The problem is that she cannot hear me. Saw me and when somebody comes and say to you, hey, this guy has to run 20 years and then we'll see what I can do.
That's not even realistic.
Dude, come on.
So I talked to the guy on phone. You telling me that I have to run.
So you can run 20 years to get the same 5 years you got after 4 years. Yeah,
crazy. It was my uncle sending the guy to give me that. I'm a lawyer. I know what I'm talking about. What was I facing, and what was my ace? Mm-hmm. I knew what was my ace.
Yeah,
I knew. what was they wanted from me.
Jeez.
So you turn yourself in, you go through everything, you did the plea agreement. What kind of cooperation did you have to give to the government?
That what I told you, I surrender, accept my charges, and convince my family to give up the business and all the properties that we had.
So
That was my grand corporation that people believe that I betrayed somebody. When I tell you,
did you ever testify against anybody?
nobody, never.
Okay.
I never go to a trial against nobody because I got 5 years. So why should I go and risk my family in Colombia for 5 years? I'll do it, and I did it.
How did once you took that deal, and you knew now you've got 5 years now? How was your relationship with your kids at this point?
No, but better because they are seeing me every
Saturday at 8:00 in the morning.
No, not at 8 o'clock, but they can go and see me.
Whether they're drunk or not, right? Yeah.
They can see me. I can call them.
Yeah.
So I have a better relation with that, and I have a wonderful woman that always made me important in my house.
Well, God bless your wife because she stuck behind you for 4 years on the run, 5 years in prison, right?
Yeah, I have to have something good, right?
We would
think
say
so.
that.
It must be the sex.
I think so.
Yeah.
So you're out now, free man. And that's one point we made today at the conference.
Yeah.
Is that, like you said earlier, you abided by our justice system. You did your time. You've paid your debt to society, and now you're a free man. And I mentioned to you earlier today, I'm surprised that you were allowed to stay in the United States. But was that part of your plea agreement?
Yeah, but it almost changed because a guy from DA hated me. He was an important guy in Colombia when they were trying to get me because there was 2 agents from DAA and 11 police guys from the police was trying to get me. And that guy, and I don't know who he is, he got, a very important, how you say that, a very important position in South America. So the guy, I don't know, he hated me. I don't know what his name, I don't care. And he started to, say I'm a very dangerous man. They shouldn't let me here. And so I was going to be released the 27th of May. Oh no, 26th of May. They did something and they didn't let me out, and they sent me to immigration jail. And there was, a very discussion in the government. They wanted to throw me out. And you know who saved me?
Who's that?
One of the prosecutors, because the guy was a rookie in those days. And I don't know who he is, but when Obama went to power, he was the number 3 in the justice system.
In the Justice Department.
And so the guy, Kaczorowski went to the guy, say, hey, this is happening with William. And the guy called him. You let him go. He kept his word, and I'm going to keep mine. So he permitted me to come out, and then they sent me I go to talk to a guy in ICE, and that guy speaks, he said, I'm going to give you an opportunity. You're going to have 6 months to prove that you can stay in this country. And they gave me 6 months of parole. And I have 14 years here, so I've been a good boy.
What's your citizenship status?
I got a deferred action letter every year, and every day they change it. I'm waiting for something that I don't know if it's gonna come. Ex visa.
Okay.
I'm waiting.
And your family's under the same.
No. My family, unfortunately, my wife decided to do an asylum, and she lost it. But we went to trial, and she beat she won the
hearing,
the trial.
Yeah.
So the wife and daughters are okay.
The wife and daughters are Americans already. The 3 of them.
All right. So now, it's interesting. So I asked you this in the green room, but we'll talk about it on here. Why did you agree to come to the Southern California Gang Conference? Because you said something funny. Normally, you're not used to seeing 900 cops in front of you. You're used to seeing all the cops behind you chasing you. So, why did you decide to come here and talk?
Because it was a challenge. I believe if I can do good and talk to those people and they saw that I'm talking about the heart, I can go anywhere with this story, right? If I can do this there, I can do anywhere and tell this story. And I want to share with kids. That's my main goal. Be able to be in front of kids and tell them this story, the way it is. Because I believe that's a great opportunity for kids to change the way they think. Because kids are very easy to be, target for this criminal organization. And I know what's going on. So I know how can I talk to them,
Let me ask you, let's kind of close this out now because we've been going at this for a while now.
Yeah.
And it's been good stuff. Let's assume that the United States government said, we want to put you, the man who wrote the book, William Rodriguez Abadia, in charge of drug policy for the United States. We want you to help us redefine the war on drugs. What would you do? What would you do different than what we're doing today? Because we've got the cartels in Mexico who are extremely violent, right? We still got drug trafficking going on out of Colombia. What would you do it's a fiction to think you're going to get rid of it. You're not going to get rid of it. But how do you get it down to such a point to where it's not making the impact on society like it is now with the violence, the deaths? We've got fentanyl now, 100,000 people a year dying. What would you do different knowing what you know?
I believe that what I study and I prepare myself, I believe we need to do three things. First, repression has to continue for organizations like us, the cartels, because you cannot let them do whatever they want. It's important, but it's not the only policy that you have to enforce. Because if we talk about the 1970, Nixon decided to go to war against drugs, right? And we're in 2023.
Mm-hmm.
And if we go and look at the reports of the Nation Unit, la ONU, the Nation Unit, how you say la ONU?
The Uniform Crime Report?
No. They're the ONU. The ONU is the United Nations.
Oh, yeah.
United Nations every year has to make a report, right?
Right.
I read the one in 2019, and it says that production and consume is growing. So is repression done the job? No, right? In part yes, in part no. So we need, for me, three things. Repression. I don't believe too much in legalization of the drugs, because if you see marijuana cases now, everybody can get marijuana. If I have a headache, you can take marijuana. So I don't believe in that. I believe marijuana is legalization is for making a better product and controlling prices. And in Portugal in 2001, a guy decided to treat patients the way they are, drug addicts the way they are, victims. So that guy, if you're not in a conspiration, and you're not in a conspiracy, you're not. So if you have doses minimum, they treat you like a patient. And he did this, and in 10 years, consume has dropped 50%. That's something that I'm betting. You can see it. I think in one state here they're doing it. Maryland or something like that. They're doing the same thing. So for me, we need these three.
Investigation.
Repression, because repression is one. Legalization is another one to control what I'm telling you, the product. And the other one is this, because in this country, 500,000 persons are going in jail for doses minimum. So that's crazy.
Yeah.
So you have to treat those guys. They are sick people, and you have to give them the treatment they needed. So maybe that way we can do something, because I know I was in the system, and a lot of this stuff is for money, because prisons are making a lot of money in this country. So we have to look at another way to see if really we can, stop this. I see it that way. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm somebody who lived this life, somebody who knew this life, somebody who has prepared myself to try to say a different message out there.
This has been something very different for us, right?
Yeah. Well, George Young was interesting because of his involvement, with Pablo. He knew what was going on. He was at a hotel one night when they threw a guy off the balcony.
Yeah, and he was kind of like a folk legend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because of the movie Blow with Johnny Depp and all that, but
they glamorized it in a sense.
The one thing we said here at the conference today is, this was probably a once in a lifetime for a lot of those police officers today. There was 900 cops there. The fact that they got to hear somebody who was at your level in one of the largest cocaine production and distribution groups in the entire world. And the organizers, when we took the break, even, we went back in the green room there for a few minutes. They even came up and they said, you two have everybody's attention out there. Nobody's getting up and leaving. And when we came back out, they were all there waiting on us.
I was watching from the back too. You could tell when people get bored, they vote with their feet. They get up and they go, right? So your message resonated. Now, I will tell you, it doesn't mean that some of those folks in there aren't giving you a free pass. They're not saying, "Oh, everything's okay now." But what they're respecting is the fact that you showed up here, you told your story, you took accountability for what you did. But the other thing too is they're here to learn. If you don't learn from the people doing this stuff, how can you be effective, at investigating it and stopping it? So the fact that you come out here, you've done a big service to the communities out here so that these folks get a better understanding of what's the mindset, how do you think, how can we do a better job of investigating and stopping? And sometimes it's not about kicking in the door and throwing people in handcuffs. Sometimes it's really about, like with you, it got to the point where it's kind of like, turn yourself in. Let's figure out a way through this and get you what you need, get us what we need, and bring this to an end. Because the thing is to stop the violence. Yeah. Right.
That's one of the most important focus, violence. Because that's not the option. And unfortunately, these criminal organizations, even if you don't want, sooner or later you're gonna find violence. Because that's what the nature of the business is. That's the nature of the
territory. Yeah. So, we just want to say thank you, William. Thank you for taking the time today to come to the conference, and thank you for taking the time this evening to give our listeners insight into, a life that most people will never experience. Thank goodness.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'm not so bad as they say.
Well, you
did your time.
You did your time.
Man.
Hey, let's talk about but let's end with this. So, folks, we'll put the link on this on our webpage. Obviously, it'll be on our book list. Son of the Cali Cartel. The narcos who wiped out Pablo Escobar and the Medellin cartel, William Rodriguez Abadia. Did I say that right? Abadia?
Yeah.
Abadia. Abadia. Okay.
We'll work with him.
Yeah, we'll work with you. All right. So, hey, look, thank you for doing this. It's been a long day. You spoke, and we're here. We've been here for going on 2.5 hours, man. This is good stuff. Yeehaw. All right. We're going to bring this to a close. Don't go anywhere. Everybody else, stay tuned for the debrief. I tell you, again, we give him credit. Of course, I helped him out a little bit. I shared a bottle of wine with him.
I'm so glad I don't drink, because who knows what you'd do if I did.
Well, you did have a Guinness. Remember, you had a Guinness.
I did. Again, thank you, Perry.
Thank you, Perry, man, the man that took care of us. But you know what was interesting is, he's trying to make a go of it. He's speaking out. He's getting involved in some stuff. And I think legitimately in his heart, he wants to do like Mundo. They do want to look at the kids, prevent the kids from getting into this because they got kids, right? But it is definitely a difference from the privileged lifestyle he grew up in and the money he had and the places he could go and the things he could do. And where he is now, he doesn't have an entourage. He doesn't have bodyguards. He doesn't have all this stuff. He is if you saw him hanging out in an airport, speaking of hanging out in airports, we both had stories about that. We didn't tell you about, we'll get into that later. Yeah. But yeah, it's just him now. It's no longer, people look at TV and they go, oh, it'd be great to do this. Yeah. Let's think about that. You're almost killed. 2 of your bodyguards are killed. You're on the run for 4 years. Even Pablo, remember at the end, you weren't there. We understand that. That was Narcos. But even at the end, what was Pablo? Shirt, jeans, with one guy, one Sicario left. That was it.
Absolutely. So this is, you've heard us say it before. We're true believers in the rule of law here in the United States. According to our system, William Rodriguez surrendered. He was convicted. He did his time. He's off probation now. And he is a resident of the United States. So as much as you may condemn him for what he did in the past, he did pay his debt to society according to our rules here in the United States. So it's one reason we did bring him on the show here. We hope you got an insight into the Cali Cartel. I don't think you got the 100% insight that we'd have loved for you to have. But I mean, again, you got to consider
the last time you were interviewing a suspect and they gave you up everything, 100% of everything.
The only time that ever happens, and then you still can't talk about murders. The only time that ever happens is if you're sitting with somebody who's cooperating and their attorney's sitting right next to them and they've signed a proffer that says, everything I'm getting ready to tell you, you cannot use against me.
But absent that proffer, if you're like in a case and you're talking to somebody, say, I swear that's all. And you go, really?
And let me tell you, every time they blink, there's a lie coming out, okay? That's how many lies come out.
I was dealing with one guy said, first of all, we went from I didn't do it, I don't know about it, and 25 burglaries later. It's kind of like, is there anything else? If there is, he goes, I just can't remember. That's okay, 25 or 30, you're still going to prison. So we want to talk. So the other thing, too, is make sure, and Murph's holding up the book. He read it, and actually, I will tell you, too, I was impressed. You annotated the hell out of that thing. It's called Son of the Cali Cartel, The Narcos Who Wiped Out Pablo Escobar and the Medellin Cartel by William Rodriguez Abadia. Mm-hmm. And actually, it's kind of funny because Murphy puts along the top of the book, I say not funny, because the truth untold by Netflix. Quite frankly, he didn't like the way he was portrayed in Netflix. Well, as we told him, I got news for you. JP didn't like the way he was portrayed. Connie definitely didn't like the way she was portrayed. As we found out in our patreon.com/Game of Crimes, shameless plug there when we talked about the review, the Narcometer season 2. So, that's the thing. It's fiction. He did not like it. And now he wants to sue Murph. I think he's got zero chance of winning anything against Netflix.
I mean, think about it. It's Netflix. How many lawyers do they have on their regular payroll that can drag this out and bankrupt you? I mean, that's basically what it boils down to. So
it's called lawfare.
I mean, he has to do what he thinks is right. We're not saying good or bad either way.
He can have at it. So basically, and you read the book. I mean, I would encourage you to read the book. Get inside the mind. Just remember, it's written from a certain point of view. But we do want to be we do want to thank him. He was gracious enough to spend a lot of his time. He actually came back the next day too, Murph. Signed books, was there for some other stuff. So we appreciate it. And look, he's a guy that if you did not know anything about him and you just met him out in public, you go, seems like a decent guy. Not very big. What, 5'6", maybe 5'7"? Not a big guy. Doesn't look threatening at all. He was actually a nice guy. But,
don't forget where he came from.
Yeah. And he didn't, but everybody's got a point of view. But hey, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. So let us know what you think about it. Head on over to Patreon. Head on over to Patreon. I've been doing too many commercials. Head on over to Apple and Spotify. Yes, Apple and Spotify. Hit those 5 stars. Let us know what you think of it. It really helps. But then head on over to Game of Crimes. Podcast.com. We've got the link to the book, not only on our site, but to the Amazon site. So check that out. Follow us on social media at Game of Crimes on Twitter, Game of Crimes Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. And also do go to patreon.com/gamecrimes. One thing we forgot to mention in the first part, make sure you go to Game of Crimes Fans, our Mafia Queen who rules with the velvet gloves, Sandy Salvato. Get in on the hilarity that ensues behind the scenes. We post a lot of good stuff. You and I are getting tagged regularly in posts. And in fact, a couple of them, like, is this what you do, firearms training in DEA, Murph? You know?
Maybe. I'm going to have to catch up on my responses here.
Yeah, so we do too. We've both been traveling. We'll tell you that story from hell in the next episode. But hey, but yeah, seriously, guys, patreon.com/Game of Crimes. We've got a lot of good stuff. Game of Crimes Fans. Just search for that on Facebook, answer a couple questions, get in the ballpark. You'll be admitted to the inner sanctum, or hilarity and jocularity ensues. So that's two different words, hilarity and jocularity.
Is that like Jocko Willink? No.
No, and it's not a athletic supporter either.
And we're not saying that about you, Jocko, because I don't want that man showing up.
I don't want to. He's a big dude, man. No, don't crush me like Arnold would. So anyway, hey guys, but we appreciate it. We really appreciate you guys, and give us the feedback, what you think about the episode. And thank you guys once again for playing the biggest, baddest, most dangerous game of all, as you found out, dangerous, the Game of Crimes.